everyone, this is Sky here coming to you to speak candidly about Mercury's transit through the sign of Scorpio at the end of the year 2019. This is such a strong and empowering transit for us, and it's really a blessing in disguise, even though we are going to be having Mercury retrograde in Scorpio as well, which always brings with it a time of intense, deep recollection and sometimes friction, as you can see a very overactive mind that can be difficult to rest and difficult to turn off, and control dynamics tend to get very activated with a Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. But I intuitively am sensing that this transit gives more than it takes, and that it is very necessary, like all transits in our spiritual path, and towards, preparing us for the more recessive energy of 2020. There are quite a few key points that I've outlined here to speak about, and I will get into those specific points here in a moment, but I just want to kind of channel a little bit for you all about this transit and just see what's sort of coming up intuitively. So I'm being guided to the eyes. I'm seeing eyes, and I'm feeling that the eyes are very much a big part of this transit. So I'm sensing that our vision, or what we're seeing in front of us, what we're looking at, what we're choosing to visualize, really determines how this transit impacts us. So one of the most important things as we're moving into this transit is to not be visualizing, bad things happening to ourselves or to other people. We have to really work on our optimism and really work on how we're choosing to see things, how we're choosing to sensitively react to the world, is what I'm hearing, and how we react to stimulus too. I'm feeling like a pressure on the eyes, and I'm feeling like people are wanting to close their eyes to things. So this Mercury in Scorpio deals so much with what we acknowledge in our world, what we choose to look at, what we choose to see, and what we choose to take with us too. And I'm thinking that maybe we've looked at too much, or we've overseen something, and it's like our eyes are strained. And I mean this physically. Maybe for some people you're having ocular issues, but I think that for the most part this is proverbial and spiritual, to the degree that we're using too much energy on looking at things and using up our ability to react to stimulus by looking at things which we don't need to see. I'm sensing that this Mercury in Scorpio deals a lot with seeing what we don't need to see, or perhaps even the antithesis of that, something being hidden from us that we do need to see. So this retrograde rights that. It makes this right. It makes us see what we need to see. So during this time of roughly October 3rd to December 9th, while Mercury is in Scorpio, we are going to see the things that we need to see. Okay, it's not going to be avoidable. The truth that we've denied will not be denied anymore. Likewise, the truth that we've hidden from will force itself on us. This is the difficult aspect of this transit, I feel, is that there can be a sense of things that are forced. Things can feel forced on us. I feel it's like we also have to be careful to not put ourselves into bad situations. I do sense this to be like the energy of sexual assault as well, or, just feeling overtaken. Most people, it's not going to be the case, because we're not having if there were Pluto and Scorpio or something conjoining this, which there is not, that would be much more likely. But I'm feeling that people are just feeling taken advantage of, or people feel over encroached or something. It's like that energy, even if it's not in any way sexual. You might see that somebody, someone comes to visit your house and they knock on your door and you answer the door, and this is just a hypothetical. And you might see they just walk right in, okay? You might see that people who you haven't seen in a long time just come to your house, and they just let themselves into your house or something, and they pop up and they give you a jump scare or something. Or you might see that you're sitting at a red light one day and your car doors are unlocked, and someone just opens the door and gets into your car and says, "I need a ride." Things like that, feeling I hate to use the word rape, but it's there's a sense of not even in the sexual sense, but there's a sense of your boundaries being overtaken and people coming into things that belong to you unannounced. So I will warn you all to that, and you want to make sure that the doors are locked. You want to make sure that you are being an advocate for your boundaries during this time, and that you're not putting yourself in a situation where people can do this very easily, because so we have to watch out. And this isn't to fearmonger, this isn't to make you afraid, but I feel that this Mercury retrograde deals a lot with fear, and it deals a lot with fear mongering. So the things that we're afraid of can happen here. The things that we really build up in our mind to be afraid of or that we've been afraid of, we can see that kind of flirt with us in a way, because Scorpio is a sign that flirts with fear. And when you put Mercury, which is the sign of the mind, the mental processes, the nervous system, communication, when you mix that with the flirtatiously fear-mongering energy of Scorpio, when it's negative, those two can be like a major paranoia. It can create paranoia, it can create anxiety, it can create all those types of things. So we have to be strong in our mentality leading up to this transit of Mercury and Scorpio, because also what you can see is the overcoming of fear. This is the nature of the sign Scorpio. It represents either a major succumbing and a major fearful experience, or the rising above and the transformation into a utopian ideal above any fear and never succumbing to that again. Again, you kind of have to go big or go home with Scorpio energy. You either fail or rise. It's very extreme. And Mercury is not debilitated in Scorpio. It is not a bad place for Mercury to be, but it's a pressurized place for Mercury to be. I feel that natives with Mercury and Scorpio, I am a Mercury and Scorpio person in my natal chart too, they can be their own worst enemy. They can be their own worst critic. They can kind of self-sabotage or find themselves in self-fulfilling prophecies. So it's all about the self and all about you determining what happens in your life. And this will change depending on what else is being activated in your chart or what else is transiting for you. And it's not to say if somebody really encroaches on you that that's just your fault. Of course not. But you've got to really look at, okay, I've not been locking the door to my house and somebody's come inside of it while I've been gone. Okay, why did that happen? The door isn't locked. Things like that. That's what I keep seeing. I see eyes and I see people coming into other people's houses. Okay, so that's freaky, and I don't want to creep y'all out or anything, but you've got to watch out for that during this time. And it's not necessarily malevolent. It's not malicious, because we've got Jupiter in Sagittarius. It's a great protective energy right now. We've got plenty of protective energies about. To me, it feels more like friends, like just coming over, or people who feel entitled to be around you. But that's just the image that I keep seeing. So we have to be careful about how we are overly available for people, because that could be so proverbial. Maybe people are just thinking, oh, that person wants me to be there. Oh, that person has invited me. I'm entitled. That's what I'm seeing. And houses can be a spiritual signifier for a lot of things. This does not mean that people are going to be coming into your house or going to be actually doing these things. But if you're not cognizant of your boundaries, or not cognizant of the fact that, evil people do exist in the world, or that there are people who do take advantage and people who, really look for the types of people who are oblivious to this, it's easy to maybe see a break-in or easy to see an encroachment of some kind. So yeah, we've got to really wake up to the world. Again, the eyes, the vision, seeing the truth of the world, seeing the truth of life, and choosing to lock the doors, or choosing to know who is a safe person to be around by your own discretion and by your own awareness, your own situational awareness. Good to develop situational awareness during this time. That is a great way, even intuitive situational awareness. So honing your gut feelings. Mercury in Scorpio is such a psychic energy. People with that energy are very psychic. I mean, I do it for a living. I have Mercury in Scorpio. So it's a great time to hone your intuition, to hone, sensing, okay, this person, when they're around me, I don't feel safe, but everybody likes them. What's the deal with that? And trusting your intuition over the sort of popular environment is another mandatory thing, I feel, for this transit, because you could also see things like that, like oh, I get really bad gut feelings about this guy or this girl, but everybody really likes them, and if I ever say anything like that, I'm gonna become unpopular. And then a year later you find out that this person has committed some kind of heinous crime or something, and then everybody's really confused about what happened, but you always knew. That's the type of thing that can happen here. At the same time, and here's the weird balance of Scorpio, you can't be overwhelming with it. So if you get a bad gut feeling about something, you can't necessarily be like, oh my God, I get the worst gut feeling about this person. I'm just convinced this person's like a serial, killer or something. You can't do that either. You have to let people come to their own natural conclusions, but make the right decisions for yourself. I think one good thing about this transit is it really gifts a sense of security. Throughout this period of time, you might see some insecurities very clearly, and through that, you can really focus them and fix those insecurities. And this could, again, deal with like changing the locks on your door. That's what I keep seeing. It's these locked house doors or unlocked house doors that are really being a problem for people, whether it be physically or proverbially. Maybe changing the locks on your spiritual, ethereal doors, things like that. Another intuitive theme I get from Mercury's transit of Scorpio in late 2019 is that we are dealing with where we feel powerless, okay? The things we feel like we don't have control of, the things we feel like we do not have power in the face of. These things are front and center during this time. And for some people, this can be a very disempowering experience, but for other people, they can really build power like they never have before. So ever since about the end of 2017, we've been dealing with energy sources. We've been dealing with the energy of the body, how we energize, how we find health, and how we find motivation. And this is a crowning transit for that. During this time of the last 3 months of 2019, this is where we have to make some of the hard choices. This is where we have to see, okay, I don't sleep enough, or okay, I am drinking coffee late at night, or I am taking in these kinds of stimulants, and yet I'm wondering why I have insomnia, or, my digestive system is all messed up and I'm eating all this horrible food, but I really don't know why my digestive system is all messed up. These things that we deny ourselves, these like truths that are easy, that we refuse to acknowledge because it represents us having to let go of something that we are not ready to let go of. Okay, this is essential for this transit, to look at the simple truth of the situation. Okay, I can't sleep at night. Maybe it's time to let go of the caffeine. All right. My heart, it runs like 5 times faster than it should every day. Maybe it's time to, stop, running 5 miles every night when I've not eaten anything all day. Maybe, there are like easy solutions with the Mercury and Scorpio, but we can really make things a lot harder on ourselves. Like, okay, I can't sleep at night. That's probably not because I drink 7 cups of coffee a day. I think I need to start taking sleeping medicine before I go to bed. And then I'm going to wake up feeling very tired. So I'm going to up that to 10 cups of coffee a day. And, but that's probably not what's causing it. Let's keep taking sleeping medicine. It's things like that. So trying to find, really complex solutions that don't fix a problem, but sort of treat the symptom of the problem. This can be a negative of Mercury and Scorpio. It tries to get a little bit too complicated in its solution process. So ease up your solution process. Try to not dread things. Try to not overthink things. Another issue with Mercury and Scorpio is, say you've like agreed to help somebody do something, or you've signed up for something you didn't want to do. The process of dreading that and leading up to that is way more draining than actually doing the thing. Or maybe this comes out through work, like, you have to get this certain thing done, and the process of dreading it takes so much more from you than doing the actual work, and then you have to do both, So try to not dread, try to control your mind, try to not let your mind just run all over the place. As Mercury and Scorpio, again, it can make a very fixated, sometimes OCD and sometimes over-focused mind, okay? A mind that doesn't turn off. So we will all be feeling that to a degree from October to December of 2019, but those of us who can let go of, a super fast mind, or just make ourselves do the things that we know that we have to do without making that like a traumatic experience for ourselves, these are the people who will come through feeling a lot more empowered. All right, and that's kind of the general intuitive messages I'm feeling. I'm going to go ahead and go through this outline that I put together really quickly. I think I have like 4 points here that I wanted to talk about. So the first point of this Mercury and Scorpio, and this deals mainly with the retrograde, but I mean, it suits the entire transit too. The first thing is purifying and cleansing the mind. So again, Mercury is the planet of the mind. It is the planet of how the brain works, and how, Uranus is as well. And Uranus is in Taurus, which is the opposite. So they're opposing each other. So the brain and its like electrical activity and the synapses and the mind's workings are all very emphasized here. So I think that we have to purify and cleanse old coping habits or old ways that our brain works. And this is an odd thing to talk about and odd to really understand, but that's just the way that it's coming through to me. We've got to change up our mind's formula. So, for example, I've just woken up in the morning. I need coffee now. And then after coffee, I need to do this relaxing thing. And then after this relaxing thing, I need to, not eat for a while and do like really hard exercises. Like all of these patterns of like our health or our routines that are destructive, we have to just let that go and do what we know that we need to do. It's that simple. We've got to also release old fears and purge self-destructive tendencies. So this deals with purifying and cleansing the mind, especially that purging of self-destructive tendencies. We've got to see those clearly for what they are. Like, okay, this Netflix show, this like riveting investigative Netflix show that I'm watching right before I go to bed, that's making my brain work 10 times harder because I'm like into it and it's like a dopamine rush. So I can't sleep, things like this, like these simple little things that we're not giving credit to why our routines and patterns are the way that they are. We have to look at and we have to make easier, and how much better and healed we can feel to do it. And then you kind of ask yourself, well, why am I so apprehensive of doing what's actually good for me? There's that self-destructive tendency, Okay, the second point is transforming your communication. So Mercury is the planet of communication, Scorpio the sign of transformation. So our communication also has to change up here. How we communicate with loved ones, how we communicate with people we don't like. It has to change up because oftentimes with a Mercury and Scorpio energy, it's the opposite. So we're communicating with our loved ones like people that we don't like, and we're communicating with people we don't like as if they were our loved ones. So we have to really get in and change up those synapses a little bit and think about why we're communicating the way that we are, who is taking up our energy. Do you have a parent who's really clingy, who has to talk to you every single day? Do you have a spouse or a boyfriend or a girlfriend who, is refusing to speak to you and can't like give you what you need, but you're not communicating that? We have to really start to be able to communicate things, period. Not just about communicating what's good or bad or indifferent or whatever, but communication, period. I feel that it's all off and that this transit really forces that to get better. The third point is healing the nervous system. So again, Mercury is ruling the nervous system and Scorpio is about healing and transforming. So we can be destructive to our nervous system here, or we can heal it. Thinking of the body and how much of an electrical system it is, with the neurons and the nerves and all of that, all of those different neurological systems. Scorpio can be too potent for it and it can overwhelm it. So make sure you're not overstimulating yourself. Again, not too much stimulants. Again, if y'all wanted to do a caffeine cleanse, this would be an incredible time. If y'all wanted to drop caffeine or drop any kind of stimulants or uppers, this would be a really, really good time for that because you'll have enough of that naturally with the planets. The planets will be stimulating, so we don't want to overdo it, Although everything in moderation is okay. So if you're not really addicted to caffeine, don't worry about it. But I wouldn't think that caffeine every single day, period, is good. Maybe once or twice a week, honestly, at the most. All right. And then, also the endocrine health is a thing, really working on those adrenals and thyroid and liver and pancreas. And then caffeine is very effective on those as well. So I think that caffeine is a big thing for all of us. I think, honestly, guys, I'm feeling intuitively that caffeine is way more addictive than people let on. And I don't struggle that much with caffeine myself. Like, it just keeps coming up. I'm lying a little bit there. I do drink a lot of coffee, but I don't drink like 5 or 6 cups a day. Here I am, anyway, we can really see a better life with less caffeine and more sleep and more sleep at the right time of night. These things can really fix a lot of the problems that Mercury and Scorpio can present, because it will be trining Neptune and Pisces, and we have to remember that. Trining Neptune and Pisces and opposing Uranus and Taurus. So this Mercury and Scorpio is not just a little inner planet activity, it's majorly weighed up by the outer planets, as it will sextile Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn as well. So it's channeling all of that heavy outer planet stuff into little Mercury, so it's an overwhelming transit for some, but super healing. And then the last point that I wrote down in the outline was being cognizant of expenditures. So this is through the connection to the Uranus and Taurus and Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn. As we are moving towards a recession in 2020, if you guys didn't see, I did a video on the 2020 recession. I'll link it in the top right-hand corner and below. But yeah, this is the few months preceding that time. So we've got to be really clear on what we're spending money on, what we're spending time on, what we're spending energy on. Those things have to be wrapped up in a neat little bow here. We came out of this incredible Virgo stellium of September, which was really meant to start to calibrate all of that and start to create this person or this ability to track it all and to see it all. Now we have to use the precise surgical energy of Scorpio to start making some changes and knowing where we want to see ourselves and knowing what is a true priority. So knowing one of the saddest energy lines of 2019 was to know what you wanted to do and know what you were meant for, but to not let yourself afford it or to not let yourself embark on it. This is something that due to an oncoming recession, people will do because they feel that coming on, so they want to do what's safe. We have to do what's safe here, but we also have to do what we know that we're meant to do. So accepting what that is and starting to spend in a way that makes it possible is another big thing for this transit, and being aware of it mentally. You know, we're not just filling things out. We're not just riding by the seat of our pants. We are taking the moldability of our reality into our own hands, and we are doing what we know that we're meant to do. Mercury in Scorpio is about taking control of your own life. It is about, fixing a reality for yourself. You know, if Mercury in Scorpio feels out of control, or if it feels like it doesn't have any control of its life, it will start to lash out and it will cause like an explosion. Okay, so take control of your life, become aware of how you're spending time, money, energy, and that will really help you to doing more so what you're meant to do or what feels, authentic, right? Because at the heart of all of this transit of Mercury in Scorpio, this is the cognizance of authenticity, of your own personal authenticity. It's the realization of what that looks like. So just on top of that is the need to act on that, okay? And throughout all of this outline that I've given in intuitive messages, I hope that it's been helpful in seeing what your authentic truth looks like to you and what steps you might be able to take to act on it. All right, everyone, thank you so much for being here. I hope that you enjoyed this channeling. I think that the last quarter of 2019 is going to shine very brightly. We have Jupiter doing an incredible thing. So for many of us, this transit is just about locking into what we know that we need to do and following through with action and grace into the path that we've already, been working on for a long time. So enjoy that aspect of it. And if you're new here, I so hope that you will subscribe to my channel and turn on those notifications. I post new videos every Friday, and I do monthly horoscopes and tarot readings. If you haven't been able to check out my Patreon page yet, you can get some great exclusive healing content, and you can get these videos early and ad-free over there. And my new ebook, Moon Symbols, has been an incredible experience. I was so grateful to see it hit #1 on new releases. Thank you guys so much for that. If you haven't gotten to see it yet, you can check it out. I also have a discount link for Kindle Unlimited, which can help you to read my ebook and millions of others for free on the Kindle store. So that link is below too. Anyway, everyone, thank you so much for being here. We will be talking soon. See you guys next Friday. Much love. Bye.